Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we have another live stream. I'm doing daily live streams pretty much this whole month. And why are women more attracted to older men? Age gaps in relationships. This is something I come across a lot in my work and dealing with people that are in breakups. And in live coaching sessions, there's a lot of situations where there's a significant age difference, which I would say almost always isn't a problem in the beginning, and people don't feel like it's a problem at the end, but actually it is. Um, that doesn't mean an age gap can't work, or 10 years, 15 years can't work, but the odds are probably against you long term. Now I'll circle back to that, but in the meantime, if you like this video, throw me a like. If you don't like this video, throw me a not like. That's just as good, because at least you have an opinion. If you want to put the comments down below, if you have a situation where you've known someone in a relationship where there's a large age gap, or you have an opinion on age gaps in relationships, please share it in the comments below. Let me know what you're thinking, or if you even have a story. Otherwise, let's get into it. So recently, I have a story to share, and that's why Salma's on here, because she's waiting for her story, I believe. But I'll get to your story in a moment, just to let you know. I do like to talk a little bit, and I will eventually get there. 1 to 7 years is all good. So Zam already has an opinion on it. I don't have a problem if someone's got a girlfriend or a boyfriend with a significant age difference. If someone walks in and they're in their late 30s and they're with a woman that's in their early 20s, I don't go, oh my God, this is going to end soon or end quick. No. I will say this, based on my experience of being a breakup coach for 3+ years now, talking to hundreds, not thousands yet, but hundreds, and just knowing some people over the years that have had relationships where they were with older men. And let me just add, I have had clients that are men that have women that are 15, 13, 12 years older than them. I don't think I've had 20, but 15 to 12 I've had numerous times. So men do date older companions, mates, what have you, partners. It does happen. So when people think, oh, no, that never happens, it does. And it happens for different reasons. Now, the reason I'm saying it works is there's attraction. First and foremost, what starts a relationship is attraction, physical attraction, intimacy. All those things are what starts something. And so if someone can find attraction in another being, then they will pursue them. Where it goes from there is a different story. Maybe some people believe that if a man's older than them, they can maybe trust them more than a younger man that maybe has more hormones and wants to sow his oats a little bit more. That's possibly true. I mean, hormonal wise, and how active those guys are and whatnot. Now, that being said, I have noticed that men, when they're out of the breakup, if they have a significant age difference, they always say, and maybe I'm overstating always, because always is, could be, there's an exception to the rule, but they generally will be like, hey, look, I do look really young for my age. And I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. That's, that's a compliment. I believe you. And, whatever. They always want to kind of stipulate that, I do look young for my age, and that's why she's probably with me. This, not okay. But there is an element, if you are dating someone younger as an older man, that you have probably a little bit of insecurity, that, I'm guys that I've dealt with that are in their late 40s or with someone in their late 20s, and they're good looking guys. They have a lot going for them. They still have, when they talk to me in private, they still have a little ounce of insecurity that, like, I'm a bit older than her. I don't know when this is going to end. And that's reasonable. That's using logic, because here's the thing. A woman in her 20s, if there's something that goes wrong, and she's good looking, she's a good catch, she's got a lot going for her, she's just in her 20s, she's just young and vibrant, they are going to have many more opportunities to pivot out of a relationship quickly, soundly, and meet another mate equal to higher value. And so when things go wrong, they have less patience. They're more flighty. And some men, especially older men in the relationship, are like, what the fuck happened here? And I'm like, look, if she's, 22 to 27 years old, you're 45 to 52 years old, you want security. You know what you want, you know where you're at. And let's face it, you're not going to have a bunch of younger women pounding at your door unless you're an actor or a movie star or something with social proofing through the roof. So your idea, um, your idea of maybe getting another woman that's in her 20s isn't out of the question. Okay, it isn't out of the question, but it's certainly more difficult to fathom it being easy or just normal. Whereas the woman in her 20s, she's going to be just fine because those are her. She's going to have a lot of options circling out of that, and so that's always that's always in the back of your mind. And me being 39, I have dated women that are younger than me in their 20s, with a 10+ year age difference. And there's a lot of nice parts about it. And there are moments where you're like, wow, I really do feel older. And it's not necessarily awkward. It's just telling, because here's an interesting thing about this. Okay. I talk about environment, subcultures. Sometimes people get religions in the way of their relationships. So cultures that you grew up in have values and morals, and so those affect your relationships if they're different. How about this? Decades, right? We have the 70s, we have the 80s, we have the 90s, we have the first 10 years of the 21st century. I don't even know if you call those the zeros. Each decade has a different sort of theme to it, right? And it's kind of funny. I grew up in the 80s as a kid. And if you're around someone that was born in the late 90s and you're just mentioning certain things about the 80s, they're just kind of like, holy shit, I didn't know you were that old, when there was actually tape cassettes out and things like that. And so there is a level of just not understanding where you're coming from sometimes. Does that make sense? It's because your life experiences, the things that you might find funny or interesting because you've been on the earth longer and you've lived through the 80s and 90s, you might be in a conversation or a back and forth and they're just like, they're lost because they don't, it doesn't even fathom them. Does that mean it's going to ruin the relationship? No. It's just one of those things that adds to more miscommunications. And that's what leads into my next point that I've come across a lot with men that are older with some younger women. It seems to me that the generation that are in their 20s right now are much more sensitive, and this might be cultural or where you live in the world, are much more sensitive to a comment or a word that's taken out of context, and they can't let it go. I can't believe you said that to me. I can't believe you would talk to me like that. Okay. And you're like, well, I was just joking. Like, I had a guy, this was about a year and a half ago. Cool dude. I believe he was 43, 44, and he had fucking confidence. He owned a company. He goes, man, I fucking look good. It was funny. He was from the South. He had a little bit of an accent. Well, an accent to me. And he's like, look, man, I'm good looking. I'm this, I'm that. I met her I met her as a nurse. She's 25. She was giving me my shots for this, that, and the other. And I just asked her for her number. And everything transpired really nice, and the woman liked him and everything like that. This guy made one lewd comment, okay? And he meant it in a playful and fun way, okay? He used the B word in the wrong context, and he was being playful about it. And if you, from the outside in, you could see like he was just, she fucking took it as, politically incorrect. I can't believe you talked to me like that. And it was through text. And he was just like, I had a few drinks and I just, said something. Those kinds of things in any relationship can be misconstrued, but a generation can take a word or a value system and take it in a totally different context based on when they grew up. Does that make sense? And so, so when he was telling me what exactly he said, which was basically, you sexy bitch, right? So someone would say, oh my God, I can't believe you talk like that. This woman was basically like wanting to break up, wouldn't let it go. And maybe that isn't something that would be said. She carried that for a long time. She was highly offended by it. He meant it in a playful, fun way, and she took it the wrong way. So, he said sorry, he apologized once like a man. This guy was not a beta or a weak guy. He's a strong dude. But he was just shocked. And I said, that's a big part to age difference. And your age counts on the way you look at the world and how offended you might be by a word. Okay. And so that being said, a lot of times guys that have younger girlfriends that they're seeing for a while, and I would say a common large age gap is men in their 40s and women in their 20s. All the way from mid to late 40s to mid to late 20s is very common. And the women are absolutely attracted to the men. They're into them. And the men are definitely guys that aren't, lucky. These are guys that are catches. They got good jobs, they have confidence, they're good looking for their age, they take care of themselves. So it's not by fucking accident. Okay. These aren't guys that are just meeting women that are quote unquote gold diggers. These are situations where they've attracted these women. That being said, the relationships I find the women tend to be more flighty. What do I mean by that? Something goes wrong and they're more willing to break up quickly. Something goes right and they're at your doorstep that night. So I mean, it's a much different way of them dealing with it. Now it's more exciting in a lot of ways, I think. That being said, I'm starting to believe the longer I do this, the majority of relationships are temporary. And I'll get to that at a later point, maybe for a different show, and maybe I'll discuss that more in my book. But the idea that you're going to be together forever is something that people should let go of, because it puts a lot of pressure on the relationship, and people should be focusing on the present, having a good time, connecting, and working on whatever's in front of them. Because this idea of like, I thought we'd be forever, it's becoming more and more distant in the 21st century. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on relationships. And I'm saying that when you're in a relationship with someone younger than that, and like I said, I've come across it numerous times, the issues are different. And especially if you've met the woman in her early 20s, and then because there's a lot of growth in your 20s. Okay, you're not a mature adult life experience wise at the level you are at 30, 35. Would everyone agree here? I mean, Azam, you're not there yet, but it's just, if you're living life in the right way and you're experiencing things, your knowledge and your wisdom and who you are when you're in your early 20s, it's just much different. And so if you don't have a career yet, you haven't finished school yet, which is some people's thing, you still have some changes to go through character and identity wise, and those are going to affect the long-term relationships. And what I find is the guys in their 40s are really comfortable and know who they are. And that's why they're attractive, to be quite frank. They're established, they got good jobs, they're confident, they know who they are. And this is why younger women really are drawn to them. On the flip side, men have trouble dealing with the younger women's up and downness, if that makes sense. That's probably not a good technical term, but their emotions are, more up and down. They're not as stable because a lot of times these younger women haven't established a career. They're not sure about where they're at in life. They might still have some wreckage from a past relationship, and so that's where it becomes difficult. Now, am I discouraging anyone from having a relationship where there's a 10-year or 15-year gap? No, go for it. Go for it. But realize that it is one of those situations where in a lot of cases, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to sustain it because younger people change a little bit more or are more likely to change. And the idea of someone being a mature 25, I get it. There's people out there, you're like, damn, this person's got it together. They're really mature. And everything like that. And then out of nowhere, you're like, okay, that shows me how old you are. And I've been in this situation in dating where I'm like, okay, now I know our age difference of 10 years or something like that. Like now I can feel it. And that's something you got to deal with. And then the elephant in the room as a man is you're with someone that's highly attractive in their 20s, and you need to be damn fucking secure with yourself. You need to feel like, yeah, I can trust her, because otherwise it's going to be a train wreck. Now, on the flip side, men I've spoken to that have had relationships with women that are 10 years, 15 years older, a lot of times men like that generally like a woman that leads. They like a woman that is stable and isn't up and down. And so that's what they're pursuing. And in those cases, it can work, but it also has its limitations as age creeps in, right? Because it affects attraction, let's be honest. So let's get into the live stream, and then I'll go to the story that was sent in. Um, Natural Green Thumb, it's been a while. I hope you're well. Azam, always pleasure. Salma Ayat, where are you at in the world, Salma, may I ask? Your story will be coming. 1 in 7 years is all good if the man is older. So Azam has some clear boundaries there. Those are his boundaries, and I'm fine with that. Hi there, May. How are you doing? Buenos tardes, where I'm from. Oh, Johnny, I was just listening to some Nas earlier today. Ether. You? You talking to me? You? I love that song. Yeah, I'm here. So I'm okay. I'm 41 and my boyfriend is 55, so I can relate. I've always been attracted to older men. I think it's quite common, and I think that age gap right there will work pretty well because at 41, you probably know who you are and what you want. So if the woman is older, I'd wage against it succeeding. So what would be success, though? This is what's really interesting in my journey dealing with people's relationships and seeing so many different things. I mean, at what point, if someone had a 10-year, 15, 20-year relationship with some ups and downs, is it not a success if it doesn't last forever? This is a really good question, right? I'm starting to wonder. There's a lot of people out there that are married forever. I've talked to people in live coaching sessions, and they're like, yeah, my parents are still married, but they're miserable. Yeah, my parents are still married, but they fight all the time. Would that be successful because they stayed together and they fought for the relationship? That's for you to decide, but it's pretty interesting when you think about it. Would you find it more valor in the idea that someone said, you know what, I'm miserable or I'm unhappy in this relationship and I'm going to bite the bullet, take the financial losses, rebuild myself and give myself an opportunity to meet someone that meets my values and morals at a higher level? I would say that takes a lot of guts, and people that do that, would that be more successful in the relationship world? It's a good question, right? Maybe for another live stream. If a woman is older, I'd wage against it succeeding. Hey, May, I do look old for my age, to be honest. Really? You think so? For me, it's maturity, experience, stability. Well, you have a beard. I think beard adds to your age sometimes. At least that's what women say to me. For me, it's maturity, experience, stability. Okay, those are good. Those are great things to have. Stability. Tough day for me today on this. Scott, we'll talk about it, bud. Hope you're well. When an older man dates a younger girl, he always feels like he's not enough for her, and eventually he'll break up to save his emotions, even though he knows she is deep in love with him. So Salma, let me correct you, okay? You're basically sharing your situation as if it's true for every man. And so that's really good why you sent your story in and you're asking for advice right now, because this will limit you in the future when you go, oh yeah, because this happened to me in my relationship, it happens to everyone else. It's not true. Okay. So currently, when I get to your story, what you're doing is you're sharing your situation as if it happens to everyone else. And I'll be honest with you, when I was in my 20s, I used to do the same thing. And it's dangerous because then you go around looking for these kinds of things and you never find a good partner or mate. You end up sabotaging good ones. Greetings. Rob's on deck, guardian at the gate. Depends on the man's self-esteem. Hey, Rob, what's up? That's me. I'm 41 and my girlfriend was 21. Good for you, T. Like I said, I'm not against it. And, you know, a lot of guys, if they're with a woman in their 20s, their buddies are going, hey, man, right on, but there's going to be moments where you're like, wow, they switched emotions really quick. Wow, they switched their job really quick. And there's always a possibility of, if a woman, in her early 20s, you're only the second guy she's been with seriously, or third or first, and you're like, oh yeah. And at 25, 27 years old, they get curious. 28, 29, because they just think to themselves, oh, my friend Mary and Susie, they're having so much fun single. And I just saw the pictures online with all these cute guys. And I'm sitting here with, my husband, who's now, when I met him, he was 38, 37. Now he's 48. And he's developed some bad habits, ... And that's when they go, wait a minute, let me just see what else is out there. It's just curiosity, right? And they have more options because they're still young. Does that always happen? No. Also, my mini disc digital compact cassette. Remember the waterproof Sonys in yellow? Maybe you're too young for that. That was a big one. What if he's been divorced and lacks confidence? He's gone through a divorce, which means to him some kind of defeat. Well, that's his problem. It's not your fault. And if you're somehow dealing with that, that's a choice. You know, so a lot of times people go, oh, they're this, this, and this. My partner's this and this. Where's your power at? If you want to put up with it, fine. If you want to meet them halfway, fine. If they're going to complain and be a victim, I would suggest you be done. Otherwise, they're going to pull you down in the snake pit. 21 is peak. His yeah, that means his self-esteem took a hit. Plus, he may be still processing his previous relationship. I met someone born in 2002 at the Starbucks. I bet there's a lot of people born in 2002, Rob. They exist, the 2000 kids. You met her like as in a romantic way or what? She weren't attracted to him. She wanted to bust his balls. He said he doesn't, and he proved that to me. I see him as a narcissist. He keeps coming back as he wishes. You know, here's the narcissist term. Okay. He should have told her to jump from a cliff. Come on, Azam. That's a bit over the top. Yeah, the girls in their 20s are more politically correct now. It depends on what area of the world you're in. Because this is a channel that I get people from all over. I mean, Azam's in Saudi Arabia. There's different places, different cultures, so that can be different. But in my experience of talking to people, it's a minefield with words. Words get taken so fucking seriously or out of context, and words are interpretation of what they mean a lot of times. And so, you know, you might say something like this guy was cool, man. This guy I talked to, and he was just like, he has to explain himself when he says a cuss word or something like that. The things he was describing to you, nothing suggested racism or anything like that. They were just words that she was offended by and misconstrued. B word, left-wing types. This girl wasn't attracted and wanted to bust his balls. He shouldn't have apologized. It was a shit test. I'm older and I'd be offended by bitch as well. Okay. It depends on the context and how long you know him. I agree with Azam, but yeah, you Judy Jack, you have every right to interpret a word in a way that upsets you or offends you. And so what Azam said, it depends on the context and how long you know him. And you got to learn. You got part of being together is learning your partner and what they stand for and what they don't. Because people surprise you sometimes. You think, wow, this person's really morally good and that, and then they you know, I've talked about this before. I've had friends before where you're driving and they just throw their garbage out the window, a bag or a plastic bottle. And I'm like, what the fuck did you just do? And they're like, what? Like, to me, to throw trash or litter, it's beyond a no-no. It's just a lack of character. And you know what I mean? And some people, and these are people that have been friends of mine for years, or I've known them and they seem like pretty good people. And you're like, you're going to throw garbage? So sometimes people surprise you with some of the things that don't line up with you. Most relationships are placeholders, disposable or temporary. Hey, bud, how are you? What's the topic today? Gaps in age and relationships. And specifically, I had written why are women more attracted to older men? But we could talk about the age gaps for the opposite also. Oh, Johnny, have you been with an older woman or have you been with a younger woman? I agree. I like it when you agree. Agreed. I wasn't mature in my 20s and my girlfriend seemed like a teenager to me in some ways. Yeah, I wasn't mature in my 20s. Someone just asked me what was different from 19, 29 to 39. I was like, looking back, it's fucking night and day. It's disposable generation, especially with perceived options and people online not seeming quite real. Good point, Judy Jack. Azam, on you following other channels, I think I seen your name around. Okay, possibly. I lost you. Okay. I do go around, but I don't participate in life except here, I believe. Right on, Azam. I'm going to take that as a compliment. The one or no one? That's how my mom and dad went their separate ways. My mom was way young and my dad, and even though they were together for years, they ended up calling it quits in the end. I think, you know, it takes some guts to be in a broken marriage, or, you know, there's two ways to it, right? There's no wrong answer, because I remember I had neighbors before or friends of friends, families, and you knew the parents were just staying together for the kids, or sometimes they were just staying together until the kids got out of high school is a common theme. And I would say it's noble to do something like that, especially for the finances of your family, and you know how their kids live. But it's also noble to say, you know what, as an adult human being, I only have so long on this earth, and I don't want to be miserable. And if I break up, I have enough confidence in myself that I can get things going on my own, and maybe I'll meet someone else. I think both. I think both decisions have good reasons, right? So if someone stays with their partner for their kids, that's good intentions. Okay, I thought seen your name with other dating coaches like Eddie News. Okay, people separate for one big reason: attraction. Well said. Ether is a classic. It is a classic. It's like one of the top 10 songs I like. Mac, what do you know about Nas? I don't know what I know about him, but I listened to his music for years, so I still do. I still listen to that song Ether on a good run. And One Mike's one of my favorites also. You're from Morocco. Okay, cool. Arriving. Can't wait for your recap email. Thanks for reminding me. I will get on that for you, bud. I enjoyed our live coaching session. I hope you did also. I'd say most relationships are not worth it. People stay for comfort. I mostly also only participate in this stream. I used to go to tarot streams at one point, though. A guilty pleasure. What did you, Rob, just out of curiosity, going in tarot streams, what did you go there for? And was it, I have no idea. Is it to tell your fortune, or like what transpires in a tarot stream? Just curious. And I know you've invited a lot of people over here, so I appreciate it. So this is not coming from a sarcastic place. I'm just curious. Beard and gray hair. Oh, that's why you feel like you look older? Well, some people would say that makes you look wise. I just started getting gray hairs. And the last 2 years, so 37, 38, 39, I just started, this sounds random as fuck. I just started getting long nose hairs for the first time. I'm like, where the fuck did this come from? All of a sudden, I'm just like, I'm like this. I'm like, holy shit, you know? Just one of those things. I'm just thankful I don't got ear hair. Most aren't worth the aggravation. Judy Jack Burton, divorce can be a success if you are miserable and our children are witnessing a warped view of love. I agree. I think people get that lost that they somehow are. I think a lot of fear is financials, Judy Jack, which I can understand. If someone's the breadwinner, totally get it. And a woman feels like she doesn't have the skills or ability to jump in the economy and take care of her family. I totally get it. But on the flip side, yeah, both reasons for staying in or getting out, I think, are valid, if that makes sense. 27, man. 27 is a great age. A common thing for people in their early 20s, I think. I do think you should look for relationships. Men shouldn't. You just take care of yourself and invest in you and date as many girls as you can. 28, they start having that wandering eyeball. That might lead to some exploration. Who guys or girls? Had a long discussion with her, still have to do some reflection. She said she had some breakthroughs and realized what she had been doing during our relationship and is fighting to get me to stay. Ooh, a little table flip for Johnny. Well, I like the idea that she's fighting for you, because I don't hear about that a lot. Usually the woman's like, oh, you need to fight for me. And I'll tell you what, Johnny, and listening to your case and your situation, you're not perfect. None of us are. But I didn't find you to be an asshole in the relationship or doing anything completely wrong. I felt like, if you don't mind me saying this in the live stream, she has some things as an individual that she's not happy with, and then they're projected into the relationship, and she needs to get a hold of those. Yeah, that kind of happened to me. I was her first boyfriend, and she wanted to go back to dating girls. Wow. Well, that's what I mean. In your 20s, you're more apt to say, before I'm 30, I want to get this out of the way. Before I'm this, that's one of the reasons I moved to Thailand at 28. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm just going to go in my late 20s. I'm going to teach abroad. I'm going to travel a little bit. I'm going to be on a tropical beach. And then 10 years later, I'm still fucking here. So it was a good move. And I'll tell you what, it was a damn good move. I meet people all the time. They're like, you fucking live here? Fuck yeah, I do. And I'm fucking... Let me tell you something that's an ultimate privilege in life. If you want to live somewhere where people go on vacation. Think about that fucking statement for a moment. People save up all their extra money to go 1 week to 2 weeks to 3 weeks where you live. Why not live there? People ask me all the time, well, have you traveled much? No, I live where people go on vacation. And it wasn't by accident. I used to live in, when I lived in San Diego for about 3.5, 4 years, I used to live on the beach. And this was before Airbnb. This is how old I am, right? Talking about age differences. And now it's dominated by Airbnb, but people would stay there for short weeks at the time and different things. And there's little hotels around, and people, you'd meet them in the bars or you meet them in a restaurant. They're like, you fucking live here? Yeah. It's like, that's why when I tell people, when you're out of a breakup, start getting excited about the idea of like, where could I live? Where could I move? Oh, it's not that easy. For some people, it isn't. There are restrictions that, if you have kids or different things. For other people, you have limited thinking. A friend of mine is 39 and dating a girl who just turned 19, and I'm not really sure if I can agree with that. I'm not hating, just confused. Well, let it play out, Todd. You know, let it play out. That's on him. And obviously, attraction's probably winning the day for both of them. What gets affected in an age gap of 39 to 19 is connection and trust. The physical attraction probably goes both ways. I'm sure she's attracted to him as being an older man, and that he's probably established. He's probably more of a leader than someone that's 20, 21. He's definitely more mature. And he's probably attracted to the fact that she's 19 years old with a, physique of a 19-year-old, and that's attractive to him compared to being with women in their late 30s. No offense to women out there, but it's a different game, right? And so how much are you willing to sacrifice in the connection department and the trust department? And the connection department, chemistry, conversation, I don't care who you are. That one is difficult when there's a 20-year age gap to sit and have 2, 3, 4 hour conversations and be on the same page. However, it can work. It's just the odds are probably against you long term. But in the moment, Todd, be happy for him. Let him play out. He's a big boy at 39, and he's gonna have some stories to tell about this. That's for sure. Did I meet her in a romantic way? I'll have to say yes to that. She was into what I had to offer, I suppose. Nothing came of it. So a little batting practice for Rob. 20 years is a bit too much. If she was 25, I say, I usually did my age or younger. 26 or 27 was my youngest. How old are you now? 30. Johnny, you're 33. Okay, so, I think it's just funny how people change identities and change their behavior after they own someone or after they think they got them. Again, people don't do this. Your partner did this. Some people do this. So this is where a learning curve for you, Salma. It's like going around and going, oh, just people do this, and generalizing it's not going to serve you. Not everyone changes their behavior and they own someone after they think they got them. I certainly don't do that when I'm in a relationship, and not everyone does. So if you're in a relationship and someone does that and you don't like it, then get the fuck out of the relationship. I mean that. Get out. Ironically, women can call each other bitches like, hello, bitch, and it comes across completely different than if a man says it, maybe because a man has used it in the past in a mean mode. Well, Judy, Jack, your interpretation, there's other women that would find it okay. And, I had a relative where her husband would call it to her endearingly off and on in public settings, and it never bothered her. I remember my mom didn't really like it, but no one ever said anything. And that was their relationship. Was that abusive? Not to her. It wasn't. That's how they spoke to each other. So when you really think about a word, words are left for interpretation of the individuals that heard them. People claim out there to own the definition of a word is ridiculous. If I Ruled the World was also a good song. If I Ruled, yeah, with Lauryn Hill, great song. I understand. Lauryn Hill just fell off the map. She was outstanding too. Remember her in Sister Act? Just lost my place here. Leading them to take us for granted. You made me laugh out loud at long nose hairs. I'm just telling the truth. All of a sudden, I'm like, God damn, that's when you know you're getting old. I got long nose hairs all of a sudden. I gotta start trimming my nose hair. This was never a problem in my life. And I did get some gray hairs too. That didn't bother me too much though. Getting gray hairs is not a big deal. And a little bit of the receding hairline, it's not a big deal. It's fine. Yes, tarot streams. Well, I went there mostly because I knew Crystal from Kyle's Masculine Energy stream. I interact with a few of the people, but mostly have not had any readings. Okay. Cough, cough, May. It's tarot. It's intriguing. I belong to a group that gets a mini reading every month, approximately 2 cards personalized. It only costs 25. It becomes a treat that I look forward to asking a question. So I'm just curious, Judy. So you ask a question, like a specific question, and then they drop a card on a video. How does it work? Like I said, I'm curious. I know I'm aware of that. I'm aware of the age gap and everything, but I would like someone to keep on behaving the bad way, knowing that they're wrong. I live where people come to work, Silicon Valley. Well, T, I'm from San Mateo, so I grew up in the Silicon Valley. Where are you at in the Silicon Valley? Matteo. I have been coughing so much lately with some statements. I don't know if you, because T, have you been on the live stream before? Absolutely. She even made contingency plan and upped her therapy sessions to twice a week. Also, I keep telling her I need to reflect, but she gets anxious because she doesn't know if I want to stay. Well, be true to yourself, oh Johnny. If you need time to reflect, you need to take a couple steps back. Stay strong, bud. But you definitely made the right move so far, I think. And you know what you could do? You could applaud her and say, hey, look, I know you're making efforts right now. I appreciate that. But I need to look out for myself too, as far as my mental health and, you know, where I'm at right now as an individual. And I think it's good for both of us to take a couple steps back, catch our breath, maybe revisit things in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks. But I do appreciate the fact that you're making an effort and you're taking responsibility, that it's not just me. Does that make sense? Where can I live thing may possibly have a negative impact on one's career if the new place doesn't offer a compatible work opportunity. Well, I'll tell you what, Rob, it's changing really, really fucking quick. And I noticed in the last 2 or 3 years living in Thailand, the amount of people that come here for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and just ask about the internet, which is 5G, which we don't need to talk about the 5G thing right now, but I'm just saying the internet here is outstanding. I've had friends from the UK that visit that say the internet is better here than home. And there's going to be people, remote work is going to be at an all-time high. So I actually think I understand where you're coming from, Rob, but I think at this point in the world, it's at an all-time high that's actually possible to work somewhere abroad. Saying that it works for everyone, hell no. Okay, no. The idea, though, that someone could say, can I take a sabbatical? Good. If you're interested in that idea, a great book to read beyond the title, The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. It's an old book, but the idea and the premise behind it is beautiful. It's not going to really teach you how to have a 4-hour work week like it says. He talks about his business, but the idea of Mark Manson from The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck does the same thing. He cashes in a job that's, you know, safe and stable and says fuck it and moves to South America. Now, not everyone can do it, but more people can do it than they think. And it'll actually be a game changer in your life. It seems my cough is more like a sneeze. I don't know the horror story, but feel like keeping your distance is best. Taking it slow. I mean, really slow. We have been getting closer. I'm just thinking things are great now, but my trust level is like, how good is this going to last? Thinking about giving her ultimatum if shit gets rocky again. Well, ultimatums are when negotiations are off. Just keep that in mind. So you're basically putting yourself in a situation where you got to stick by whatever she decides. Yeah, he is someone who doubts a lot. He has been cheated once, so he always is on his guard. I heard that people who leave California can't come back. Well, I've been back one time a year for a month every year, so I come back to visit. And my parents live in Chico, California, and I go visit there quite frequently. So I think what you mean is to get in the grind. Yeah, To get back in the Bay Area, I could get back into the swing in the Bay Area. I have enough contacts and connections there. I could get back into real estate or something like that. But it's an uphill battle and it's extremely expensive. And you probably have to rent a room at someone's house or something like that. But here's the question. Why do you want to stay? I mean, when I go back and I see the traffic and whatnot and all these other things, it's not the place I grew up in. Where are you at exactly, T, in the Silicon Valley? I'm just curious. The worst can happen to women too. I had a 42-year-old see me get off a bus and walk with me several blocks, come to talk. It was a total compliment. I was in gym shorts and no makeup. He's significantly younger than you. Is that what you're telling me? I'm just wondering. I forgot your age, Judy Jack. I'm just wondering if you use non-contact or radio science technique will get him back, knowing I've used it once. All right, Salma, we're just going to get into your story right now, if you don't mind. Hopefully I can catch my spot back. Thanks for joining the live stream today and being a part of it all the way from Morocco. I don't know if I've had someone from Morocco before. Okay. I'm pulling up your story right now. And what happened was the first time I read this story, the way it was brought up to me, I thought to myself, I got to ask you how old you are, because I don't help people that are under 18. So sometimes I have to double check. We broke up because I told him I was going to see the doctor and that I didn't have personal data on my phone. So this means I will be off for an hour. And he said, no, you are going to see someone else. So right there, someone makes a direct accusation that's not true. You say, no, that's not true. If they continue on, you say, up to you what you want to believe. I'm done. You don't keep pleading your case. You don't try to offer a bunch of evidence, because that just plays into the other person's hand. At some point, where's your power? Why are you pleading your case about something so stupid? I told him, know what? I'm going to stay at home ill so I can stay online with you. Well, that's you giving in and being a victim. He said, no, go there and call me from the doctor's office. That's him being controlling and telling you exactly what to do and when to do it. And you still had a human choice to say no. We stayed talking for 1 hour until the doctor closed. And when I told him it's going to be closed now since you didn't let me go by talking to me, he said, you're a liar. You are disgusting. He insulted me. Right there, you have a choice. Do you want to continue a relationship with an individual that demands that you stay on the phone while you're at the doctor's office? You are in a jail cell and you have the keys. Do you understand what that means? Then I went with my dad and took pictures there to show him that truly the doctor closed that day, and he still believed I was lying and broke up with me 2 hours later. My parents called him and told him, our daughter didn't lie to you. She told you the truth, and we went with her to the doctor, and knowing that you still didn't believe her makes us like you are whoring our daughter while she's engaged with you. So if your parents are getting involved with your relationship, this is why I asked you how old you are, and you said you're 21. It's ridiculous. And the fact that you feel like you have to give evidence to someone that doesn't believe you, this is not a red flag. This is 10 red flags. And I would just disengage from the relationship and the engagement completely. It's like he made my parents bad people. No, he didn't make your parents bad people. You are allowing him to have power over you. Your parents should say, you know what? You're treating my daughter like that? Fuck you. I'm sorry. I don't use that language in that concept that often. But you know what? If this was my daughter, or I don't have kids, right? If this was my fucking niece who's 24, I would not be reasoning with this individual going, oh, she didn't mean it. I would tell my niece, give me the fucking phone. Let me talk to him. I mean, it's getting me upset right now thinking about it. If someone's treated her like this, it's ridiculous. Because in no scenario my parents will let me go out with someone else while I'm engaged. You see, sir? So he doubts a loot. He doesn't believe the truth. And when he knew I told him the truth, he kept telling my parents everything is going to be fine and stuff. My dad told him that it is better to cut this off, and he insisted by telling him everything will be all right. But then we stayed like that. I mean, we are all still not talking. I decided to cut off all contact by deleting my social media accounts and disappearing a bit so that it could rise the curiosity. Why would you want to rise curiosity with him? You shouldn't even be in a relationship with him. This individual is not toxic. It's fucking dangerous. I want to know if I do this, it will make him eager to come back to me. Possibly, because he's probably an up and down person. He sounds obsessive with you. But why? But the golden question: why do you want to be with an individual like this? So I had asked this. I had asked, how old are you? He said, I'm 21. He is 39. Age is not really important to me. Okay, that's good and fine. I'm not sure if we're going to blame age on someone's character issues like this, but age does count. Okay. He has been divorced once and he wants to get married and have kids and have a family of his own. Every time he sees his friends and their families and kids and wives, it makes him very vulnerable and sad. That's on him. That's not your fault. I believe our relationship's not only based on that, but also on the love we share and we feel for each other. I'm sorry, that is not love the way he's treating you when you're sick to stay on the phone to make sure that you're not lying to me about a doctor. There's zero trust there. And if there's zero trust, how can you have a long relationship, let alone love? We broke up twice and got back together. He is always coming back to me because he would always be the one dumping me. Well, that sounds like that's a bad playbook to have in a relationship. We were going to get married in March. Well, you're lucky you didn't. But due to his own paper problems, it has been delayed, and he eventually broke up with me. Now he doubted my words and broke up with me. He now knows the truth and knows I didn't lie, but still hasn't made a move forward and get back to me. So do you think he needs time to get back to me to apologize and be together? I mean, will the fact that he knows I've been telling the truth change his position and make him regret the act of dumping me? I don't know that he doesn't. I don't know that an individual like this does it. It's not that he doesn't believe you. He just wants to control you. And if this is how the relationship is now, it's going to continue this way. And so for some strange reason, you're actually saying like, oh, how do I get him back? Speechless, just speechless on that. I mean, what are you chasing? And your parents are actually saying like that your parents are actually calling up this individual to back you up on something that's just a ridiculous thing to plead your case on. I mean, really think about that. Like I said, like I'm thinking you're 21, my niece is 24. If my niece called me up with something like this, like, hey, I need to go to the doctor, and then her boyfriend or fiance called her up and is accusing all these things, and my niece is crying, and I'm going to call up her boy and say, oh, sorry, she actually did go to the doctor. Hell no. Hell no. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry. I don't get like this often, but this is ridiculous. You need a wake-up call right here. And I'll tell you one thing. It's a damn good thing you sent your story in today, and it's a damn good thing that you got an unbiased opinion from myself and maybe some of these people from the live stream, because you're 21 years old. You got a lot of life ahead of you, got a lot of lessons to live, and you do not need to spend it with an individual that treats you this way. If this was a family member of yours and they were in the same situation, what would you suggest to them? Good question. Coach will give you his take. I can share my opinion as well. Yeah, I did appreciate it. Santa Clara. It's a great university. That's where the great Steve Nash went, right? Is that where you're from? Are you from Santa Clara? Or are you a transplant? Adonis, the god. Yeah, Santa Clara is a nice place, man. Vacaville's finest. Jen's on deck. Yeah, I was in these live streams before the lockdown. Okay, T. Jack Burton Tarot, it's done as a podcast followed by personal mini readings on a YouTube Patreon site. Okay. I got to do a Patreon. Digital nomad type lifestyle. There's all kinds of ways to be creative, and it doesn't even need to be digital nomad. There's a client of mine right now that works for, what do they do? Something with animation, some big company, and they just basically let everyone go remote, and now they're saying you can go from remote to abroad. But the catch is, I've heard from some big companies, is your salary will be adjusted to where you live. It would be cool if I could remote work and they don't adjust my salary based on where I moved to. This is what I heard of. Okay. Before the pandemic, they said I could relocate to North Carolina, but with a salary adjustment. So no. North Carolina is supposed to be really nice, dude. A lot of people from the Bay Area are moving to Austin, Texas, and Reno. Reno's huge, especially for the people retiring. Santa Clara is a nice place. It's expensive. Oh, man, that's trauma. Your parents, accusations are not attractive. Insults are not attractive. Negativity is not attractive. In this particular case, it's unacceptable. Yeah, you're absolutely right, sir. He lacks confidence a lot. So, okay, here's where I'm going to help you out, Salma. Here's where I'm going to help you out. Please listen. Stop pointing out this man's, it's like you're going, look what he did. He did it again. Look. Yeah, he lacks confidence. Yeah, he yells at me. Yeah, he doesn't trust me. At some point, be done. Just be done. You've already established this guy lacks confidence. He is not a good long-term partner. I mean, I could say some worse words just based on what you told me, but this is a small snippet, a small story, and it's a biased opinion from yourself. So I'm not going to go on and on and on. But bottom line is, this is what people do. Oh, look what he did. He did this. He did that to me. Who fucking cares? You're sitting there taking it? You're telling your mom and dad? Come on. I mean, seriously. Are you capable at 21 years old of giving yourself a shot at being single again and maybe meeting someone that treats you a little bit better? You're allowing this individual to get inside your head, manipulate you, and somehow, even when you're like, I didn't do that, you explain yourself and then get your parents to back you up. Now, you might be thinking I'm getting harsh on you right now. The reason I am is because you need it. I mean, this is like, it's kind of like there's right and wrong, and then there's like a gray area. And a lot of times I deal with people in the gray area. It's like, oh, I'm not sure what to do here, coach. It's this and that. And I kind of break things down where I'm like, oh, Johnny would say it's like, or Azam, we've talked in a live coaching, like we'll break shit down, we'll unpack it, kind of go like, you could do this, you could do that, right? In this particular case, you're done. Like, what? I mean, what is this? This is ridiculous. Never seen Mac cuss. Clearly, you're inexperienced. Oh, I cuss. He acts like this and he's that much older. Run, don't walk. The nearest exit. This man is toxic. Definitely obsessed with controlling you. And with no offense, but it sounds like you're enabling him. That's a very toxic. No, you're not. You're not. It's not offensive, Todd. It's the truth. You need to, Salma, you need to hear this. This is why you come to a platform like this or talk to someone like myself. It's not one of these situations where I'm upset with you. I actually feel sorry for you, but I want you to stop feeling sorry for yourself and feeling like I said, you're like the person that's in a jail cell, but you got the keys in your fucking pocket, right? Think about that for a moment. And you're going, hey, why am I in this jail cell? Why won't they let me out? Why won't they let me out? You got a lot more power than you think. You have to love yourself and never feel like you can't live without someone. This person's manipulative. You tell them, Judy Jack, best line of the day. You tell them to fuck off. I do swear sometimes, but I mean, right now I'm a little like, this is upsetting because, like I said, I got a close family member I just related it to. If my niece came to me with a guy like this, I would be irate. I wouldn't be like, oh, let me talk to him for you. Hell no. Hell no. And if she brought him to if I heard this story and she brought him to like Christmas dinner or something, I wouldn't be I'd have a private chat with the guy. What are you afraid of losing by leaving him? I'm really confused. That's a very serious situation not to be taken lightly. We have been for a year and a half and spent holidays together. We spent a lot of time together, which makes me question this a lot. I mean, why would he treat someone he loves like that? Okay. I'm so fucking glad you sent this story because I'm going to help you out, but you got to listen to me, okay? The reason you don't get this is because that's not the way you love and that's not the way you look at the world. So you think to yourself, why would someone do this? And it's completely puzzling. I'll tell you why. Because this man at 39 years old has had different life experiences. It's not actually his fault for being a total asshole. He's had all these life experiences. He's never had any therapy. He's never looked in the mirror. He's never really assessed, do I want to be a better person? Do I want to be a better husband? Do I want to be a better boyfriend? And he's just living life reacting to the external world. Okay. He hasn't done any deep work. And so when you're like, why would he treat someone he loves like this? Because love to him is a different thing than love is to you. Being in a relationship is a different thing than it is to you. And that's why your relationship won't work. And if it does work, you're going to have to change your outlook on love, and you're going to have to be extremely submissive, and you're going to have to be extremely obedient. And then on the flip side, you're going, look at this. He's making me. No, he's not making you do this. You have a choice right now. That's where you're wrong. Yeah, I'm originally from Santa Clara, moved from Mountain View, then Sunnyvale. For college, I lived in Riverside, Davis, and Sacramento. Oh, I like Davis. My sister was actually a 911 dispatcher there. So my sister lived in Woodland, um, and Vacaville. So you've done some tours of duty. Mountain View, home of Google. Just had a client from San Jose, and he was living in Iowa. I'm like, "What are you doing in Iowa from San Jose?" And he said he's going to pharmaceutical school. Why do they do the salary adjustment to where you live? That's so cheap and effed up. Like they refusing to know your worth. It's probably one of those things that they're like, yeah, we'll let you move, but yeah, you're gonna have to change your salary. It's probably it's business, right? They save money where they can. Yeah, I'm from Reno, and man, oh man, it's crazy how many people have been moving here. It's crazy. A lot of people from California that are retired that don't want to pay taxes or as much taxes. Um, I love Lake Tahoe. That's a beautiful place still. Finally took a stand. 1 month ghost called. Bring the cap. I actually used to go. You're from Reno, no? And we used to go deer hunting. Beckworth? Is it called Beckworth? It's probably like an hour and a half from Reno. I don't know why I had that on my head. Last time I drove to Reno when I was visiting with my family, we went through that area. Finally took a stand. 1 month ghost called. Bring the Captain Morgan and you can leave tomorrow. Captain Morgan. Everyone's got a little captain in them. I like it, little bird. I used to love Captain Morgan and Coke when I was in college. That was a good drink, man. I'll pass. I'm not the type of girl you rush in and rush out after everyone else leaves. Good for you, little bird. We had couple rolls in the hay. You never showed any interest outside of the bedroom. So why waste each other's time? Hurts like hell. Finally took a stand. 1 month goes called Bring the Captain Morgan and you can leave tomorrow. I'll pass. Good for you, right? Here's the thing. You're not being a victim, little bird. You're like, look, we've hooked up. We've rolled around in the hay a few times and you didn't seem like you wanted more than that. Fuck off. That's your power, little bird. That's you saying, I don't put up with that. I got higher standards and morals and values. And there's some other individuals out there that will go, oh, you know what? I like having a friends with benefits. To each their own. When guys like that demonstrate who they are, they believe them, and they likely will not change. Few change them. You're not, this particular case, she's not even trying to change him. She's just trying to point out how much of a jerk he is. Salma, I think you need to have a better look at your own self-worth. You deserve better than someone who knocks you down. Salma, sorry, hun, but this isn't love. Stop explaining yourself to someone who clearly doesn't respect you. His issues are his. Don't let them become your issues. Love yourself, girl. Great line, Scotty. Twitter CEO said their employees can work permanently now, and other big companies are also extending WFH, work from home. I wonder if they'll let people move around with infected cells. They're going to do it, T. Like I said, the last 2 years living in Phuket, the amount of people that are already doing it for companies in Australia and different places, it was like the baby steps. So this is going to be a silver lining from this pandemic, that this is going to be an option. You know why? Because it saves loads of money on commercial property space and gasoline, right? And being in your car all the time. It's a no-brainer. So as long as it works and people are actually doing the work they're supposed to be doing, it's going to stay. And it's going to save the company money. The only person that's going to get nailed is the commercial real estate in big cities like San Francisco are going to get nailed. They already are. Thanks a lot for your support. It means a lot to me. Scott W's good people, Salma. So am I. And what I just said to you and the way I said it to you comes from a very good place. And I think people would agree with me right now. I'm a little bit upset because I want you to feel like, why are you getting upset? I'm getting upset because you shouldn't accept this, right? It comes from a good place. You have more power than you think. Salma, you are very young and have so much to find someone else. Don't waste another thought on this, man. Thank you, Jen. Jen's also very good people. Salma, just for the record, I know these people. They've been on the live stream before. I've talked to them in their own situations. And let me add something, Salma. Scott W., Zom, Jen, Rob, I think would agree. None of these people are fucking perfect. They have their own breakup problems. They have their own shit. They've had issues. They've had this thing. But this situation with you right now, where you're this age, and you're thinking about possibly marrying someone like this or having a long-term relationship like this, okay, don't. The guy is controlling because he doesn't know himself. He is toxic and he hasn't took the time to realize his toxic tendencies. No one's right. At 39, I wonder if he's underlying issues that has not disclosed. You will resent yourself in the long run. Make a deal with yourself to shift it to a bright future, not dwell on this person. Let him go. You got to feel your own self-worth, self-love. Scotty W again. He's a young pastor. Sounds like he's got an ego problem and has been beat up before, and now he takes his anger out on someone weaker than him. I hope he'll recover from this, though. Always wish best for others. That's outstanding, Salma, but that is on him. Little Bird, I am impressed. Yes, Little Bird's got some gusto, huh? I liked it. I liked it too. Get out. You are heading into a long-term therapy. Can cause, you know what I want to tell you though? It was very brave of you to come on a live stream and share a story like that openly. And I think it's actually a good thing for you. So the fact that, I've been a little rough maybe in my critiquing of your story or some of the other people here, but this should be a turning point for you, Salma. Seriously, get out and tell him thanks for everything. I wish you the best. That's why he's the way he is. He is damaged goods. He needs to fix himself and helps the environment. Oh, we got burned multiple times. Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Is it all agreed? So just to be fair, right? Sometimes I read stories on here and it's not all regulars, but we've got a little regular tribe or group here that come on. And I got a mixed come and go. Little Bird's been in and out of here sometimes. But don't ever think, and I think you guys would agree, Zom too. So Zom's a little tough sometimes. Rob's a little, don't ever think that, I always tell people, I don't talk down to you. I'm talking with you. And sometimes when you're a bit younger and naive and stuff, like maybe it appears that way because it has to be said. But like, even when these people chime in, they got life experience. They've had shit. The reason they've come to my channel in the past is they've had a breakup or something like that. And so they're not coming from a place of being above you. They're coming from a place like, look, we understand. Commercial realtors might start converting properties to luxury apartments and other type living places or lifestyles, make money, maybe at different lower rates. It's funny you said that, bud, because I actually was going to be in commercial real estate eons ago. And so I have a little background in it. I did a internship in it, and it's a big money industry. But a friend of mine that owns some pretty expensive commercial real estate in San Francisco, I mean, really expensive. He's already got all the tenants, are not paying this and that. And I thought exactly what you said, oh, Johnny. I was like, make them into condos. That's exactly what I was thinking. That's why we are sparing you the suffering. I appreciate everything you've said to me, and it got me into tears reading the comments and seeing all this support. Well, that's outstanding, Salma. It was brave of you to share this. Don't accept that kind of behavior. Exam, thanks took 2 months and Captain Morgan to say it. I've been more productive during lockdown doing work from home. Hopefully they'll keep it. Don't waste time and energy getting dressed and commuting. Can concentrate better than in the open office. What's just really nice, T, is just not having to drive. I don't know if people realize how much energy and how much concentration driving takes in traffic. There's a lot of mental energy involved in driving that tires you out. Wish I had some opportunities to share some stories when I was younger. Anyone that shares and learns can only get better. I agree, man. She is lucky, actually. She isn't married. She's 21. Let's not get this story twisted. This happens to men as well. Sure. Whenever he comes back, I'll come back to this live stream. Good. You got power, hon. Like I said, that statement that I made, I said it twice. I'm going to say it one more time. You got the keys to that jail cell. Let yourself out. This guy's accepting that your parents. That's embarrassing that your parents called him up and he's reasoning with your parents. And let me tell you this. I know you got love for him and feelings for him. So this is not easy. But I'll tell you what, it's the damn right thing to do. Give yourself a chance at someone that cares as much and in the same way as love as you do. Salma, don't even take him back. Block him. Focus only on moving on. Put yourself first. If your parents tell you to talk to him, tell them it isn't the man for me. I agree, Salma. Sometimes just sharing helps more than you think. Great group. You have been there, done that. Right. Empathy. My marriage taught me that I would never put up with anger, control, manipulation, fighting. I'd much rather be alone. My goal relationship would be a harmonious. I want to get into buying a property for income, but it's too hard with no money. Oh man, they make it look so easy. Real estate is always going to be. I was a real estate agent for nearly 4 years in the Bay Area. Real estate always is going to be a paramount to pinnacle. Buy land. They stopped making it. The great Mark Twain said. And when I was in real estate, I remember my mentor was saying, he goes, yeah, there's some old guy that he knew that had all these properties. And you've met people like this. They're dressed kind of shabby, and they got a fucking keychain on them that looks like they're a janitor at a fucking university. And they walk up to usually, the real estate office, and they got a property to sell or rent. And they just started collecting properties when they were young. And this old guy that had a bunch of these properties said, he goes, when you first buy a property, it seems really expensive and, it's a lot of money. But then he goes, in 10 years, it's a stroke of genius. And it's depending on the market or the area, especially the Bay Area, it's a stroke of genius in 5 years sometimes. But there's going to be some opportunities coming up, Johnny. But yeah, you do need a little. That's the catch. You do need a little bit of money to start with, right? So that is the catch. In that case, you look for, other avenues of making money. And I would say that, Johnny, what a channel that you might like? And he talks about doing some online side hustles and things like that is Glendon Cameron. I actually have talked to him before. I really like his channel. I think you'd like it. I don't know if you've seen it. So instead of saying like, I'd like to buy a house, obviously you can't do it now. So you got to look for other streams of income that are creative and could make you enough money to buy a place. Right. Oh, but your mind's in the right place. I think you might like that channel though, dude. I like Glendon Cameron. He's cool. And he's talking about all these different ways to make money online. And that's where you need to head rather than buying a house. Because like I said, buying a house, it's a great investment, or buying commercial property, great investment if you do it right in the right area. There's going to be, but you do need, do need some money down, right? You need cash on hand. And so look into that channel. Tell me what you think if you liked it. Oh man, put up the similar shit, especially if they are under the idea that love concurs all. Yeah. It's just better to walk away. I'm causing more pain to myself thinking he may come back, so I will let this go for good. I will. Gonna be hard to move on, but we'll give it a try. Don't give it a try. Do it. Don't give it a try. Do it. In this case, do it. I think the people that heard your story and we've been talking to you, I don't usually say that, by the way. They know me. You watch my videos. I don't tell people exactly what to do. In this case, don't try. Do it. You need to be done with him. That's a bad one. And the story that you just told me is just a snippet of the relationship. No. Hardest, best decision you'll ever make. Thank yourself later. Right? My home was without a doubt the smartest thing I've ever done. Sure. There's only 2 videos. Okay, you just asked about coming in late. Yeah, Hustler Kung Fu. I talked to him years ago. Before I got my channel going, I had talked to him about some different things online. He's a cool dude. Coming in late and Salma's partner, a narcissist. Yeah, it sounds like he's a narcissist, but beyond that, she just needs to move on from him. There's no try, only do or do not. You can do this. Jen, right? Don't try, hun. Just be done. T, you said Glendon Cameron. Like he said, it's Hustler Kung Fu. I think he has multiple channels. I like the way Glendon, the way he conveys his message is cool. Good. So I'm glad you're taking this as constructive. And if this helps you, this is a big live stream today. Everyone was, oh, you should be getting more views, or how do you get more advertisements? Like, if this helps you, Samo, today, seriously, I think the people that are on the live stream, if this helps you today move on from this individual that you just mentioned the story about, then it's a fucking win. For me and for everyone that's made the suggestion for you, I think they would agree. I also stayed until 6 a.m. to be able to watch this go stream because of the time difference. Well, thank you for the sacrifice. I appreciate it. Absolutely, it's gonna hurt, but it's short pain for what you will gain. Fuck yeah. All right, we're an hour and 10 minutes. It feels like it was a blur. God, I get these kind of messages. This message just came in. I'm going to share it with you guys. I appreciate you gave the time to my situation. Well, thank you. Someone says something about your character. Just say, I thank you and I appreciate it. Not everyone does, to be quite honest. Sometimes I do like a story response, or I spend a bunch of time on an email response. I don't even get like oh yeah, thank you for those words, or thank you for this. And you kind of think, okay, it's just the fact that you said thank you to tell something about your character, that you're not like, oh, why were you so down? No, I appreciate you saying thank you. Is there a real estate crash coming? Should I be looking to buy when that happens? I'm not Nostradamus, but I think that the real estate's going to fall quite a bit, dude. Unless they keep printing money, which in that case, the real estate could go up. What you could do is you're in Santa Clara. If I were you, if you're wondering about that, talk to a good couple real estate agents and get their take right now, and start tracking the market on your own. And if you're in a position where you got extra money and you could put some money down, the agent that I would recommend, that's one of the best, because you're in the Bay Area, and you could tell him that I told you to call him Dave Tapper. You can look him up. Close friend of mine. And then he's a residential agent. Good dude. Really good people. Call up an agent and ask them their opinion and say, look, I'm a buyer. But don't waste people's time if you don't even have money or the ability to buy something. Does that make sense, T? Like, if you got some extra money in the bank and you're like, yeah, I might be able to buy an REO. I'll tell you a quick story about real estate. So when I was in real estate, I was with a company called Cash and Company. You probably heard of Cash and Company if you've been in the Bay Area. I don't know how much money you need. It depends on the house, dude. 10 to 20% down, I would recommend. At least 10 to 20% down. I wouldn't say any less than that. So what's the bottom edge of the market in the Bay Area? 400 or 500 grand. I mean, the Bay Area not being Vacaville. No offense, Jen. Some people say Vacaville is the Bay Area. Wouldn't you say that's stretching it a little bit? But I mean, best thing to do, call my buddy up and ask him a few questions. Say, do you have a minute? I'm thinking about entering the market. If you just have like no money in the bank, then you're just getting by on your bills. No. California is a little different. Location, demand versus supply. We're trying to sell my parents' home, so are watching that. Yeah, it's supply and demand, and there's certain areas that are always going to be. I'm just curious, because to me the Bay Area it's a little different. There's a lot of Bay Area people there, but you got to factor in property tax. Yes, you do. If you want, like a lot of people, like I said, call up my buddy Dave. Google Dave Tapper. I think his number's a 415 now. He's out of San Mateo County, but he deals in fucking Santa Clara and all those areas. But I remember, right on, Todd. I'll get back to your email this week. Right on, Todd. No worries, but we'll get a session in soon. You don't have to have 200 down, but I mean, you need to put yourself in a position where, in order to get educated, talk to an agent. Don't waste his fucking time, because I've been there before. Someone's looking and they don't even have a fucking dime to their name, and you take them out to lunch and you got to get the bill. You get the bill for them. They're just using you. Don't do that. And just ask solid questions and see. And if you don't want to talk to just Dave, go to 2 or 3 different realtors, because they want buyers. They want that. Don't go online and go, "Oh, I don't need an agent. I'll just figure this shit out myself." Talk to a fucking agent that's on the front grounds. And I just gave you one that if you drop my name to him, he'll give you a fucking time. And I don't. This is an exaggerated statement, but he's probably a top producing agent in Northern California. Someone's like, "Oh yeah, I'd probably say that about everyone." No, I think it's pretty true actually. Um, and if he couldn't help you, he could probably recommend someone to you. That's actually really good advice, dude. Um, California is expensive, different lifestyles, different type of living. The Bay Area, oh Johnny, it's on a peninsula, bro. So it's surrounded by water. So the specific areas on the peninsula, there's just nowhere else to build. That's actually what it is. So there's all these residential areas. You can't even have condos up there. And so it's just supply and demand. But I will say this, uh, it's not gonna it's not gonna get killed there because it's always gonna have good weather, and San Francisco is always gonna be a place to live. But with this work from home and possibly work from abroad, it's definitely gonna snake bite it for sure. It's definitely gonna go down 20-30% probably in the next year 2 years. Is the real deal. Glad you wrote him. You need the truth, and glad you got it here. No games here, no BS, just care and honesty. Take care, girl. Well, thanks for that, Scott W. And I agree with him. He's telling the truth. On that area, you're looking at minimum 700 grand for a small house. Jen, my niece who lives in Vacaville was saying that to me that everyone's putting their house up for sale in Vacaville. She said there's a lot of houses for sale. May God help everyone here have what they want. And thanks a lot, coach. Means a lot more than you could ever imagine. Have a good night and thanks a lot. Well, hey, as we do in Thailand, thank you. Aaron Rodriguez. How you doing, Mr. Rodriguez? I'm late, guys. My ex is 13 years younger than me. She was 19 when I met her. At the beginning, was super cool. Our relationship lasted 5 years long distance. She did not want marriage. 5 years in long distance. So the whole relationship of 5 years was long distance. I have 50 grand in the bank. Should I talk to him or not? What do you want to tell me what your income is do you have a secure job and is your income over 100K? I think if you have 50K, I think it might be worth talking to him if you have that much money in the bank. What do you what? Okay, because the Bay Area, you got to make six figures. I mean, it sounds crazy to me, but okay, so you have a secure job, you make six figures, yes. What do you want to do? You want to buy a house for yourself or you want to buy a house as an investment? Next question. Her parents are very cool with me. They are very good friends of mine still. I keep them even she's pissed off. Why is she pissed off? People in California with Johnny spend like it's the tipping in California. It's like I told my niece, I go work at a nice restaurant. If you don't know what you want to do, work at a really nice restaurant in California, and you work 4 or 5 hours a night. You work hard or whatever. You gain people skills. You gain the skills of improvising. I've never been a waiter or waitress, and the tips in the California Bay Area, even Vacaville, you get like 150, $200 a night. It's ridiculous. Even right now, she's making over a hundo. Yeah, true. I've come to realize I want to buy a two-family house, have tenants where they help me with my mortgage. And that's a good idea, Johnny. Johnny, you're smart, dude. That's a good idea, bud. A duplex is what you're saying. I'm not clear I should buy a house for myself or as an investment. It seems like it could be a good decision either way. Yeah, why don't you do this? Call up just Dave Tapper, Bay Area real estate. Google it. I don't have his number, and you can say like Mac McCarthy on. I saw him on. Dave will start laughing. He just found out I was doing this. I haven't talked to him. I just talk to him once or twice a year, but he's fucking good people, dude. He's really good people. He's a fucking good real estate agent too. Most people in tech make six figures. Well, good for you guys. You're right about tipping in California. I waited tables for 15. Really, Jen? 15 years? Wow, hon. Yeah, it was like I said, when my niece was looking around and stuff, I said, hey, look, if you don't know what you want to do, don't just get some fucking shit retail job like I did. I remember friends that were bartenders or waiter. They made good fucking money. Is it cool if I just email him or should I call him? I would say to call him, especially if you're going to name drop my name. You could email him and you'll find his email online. But I mean, he's a talker like I am. So have your questions ready because he's busy. So if you want to say like, hey, have those in place, T. Like, hey, I was recommended by Mac McCarthy from you. Can I ask you some quick questions? I'm looking to be a buyer in the Bay Area. I got 50 grand in the bank. I make this much a year. His first question will be, are you pre-qualified or pre-approved? Those are two different things. So you go to a loan agent and they approve you for a 500,000, a 600, an 800, a 900, and then you can see what ball game you're playing. Does that make sense? So he'd probably recommend that first and foremost. So you get pre-approved by a mortgage broker, and they can say what you're looking at for money-wise. But the idea that Johnny had, if you can find a duplex or a place with an in-law unit, that's probably ideal. Dearest coach, you are the best. I would never have the courage to tell him to stick it without you in the gang. Really? We're developing a little tribe over here, aren't we? I love it. I rent out my second bedroom for passive income. That's always an option. You live in a college area. I think living in college areas is excellent because colleges don't go out of business. And, if I moved back, I'd probably live in San Diego, Chico, because my parents live there. But I like just a college town. And you can always do that. And also got to get connects with people who are Mr. Fix-Its. Do your own property in time. Yes, I do. I heard things are cheaper there. Yes, they are. But where I live is actually more expensive than most of Thailand because it's like Hawaii of Thailand. Oh, where are we at here? 1 o'clock. Okay. Any closing questions? What's interesting? Johnny's going. I don't think he minds me saying this. He's going to school to be a nurse, which I think is cool. Judy Jack was a nurse, and I'm correct, right? Judy Jack. I think someone else that's on the live stream right now. If it's in a college area, yes. Johnny, I should do a real estate podcast, huh? If it's in a college, because I have base knowledge from doing it for 4 years, 3.5, 4 years. The elephant in the room with condos is homeowners associations, and they're dreadful if they go wrong. And there's fees where they take money and you don't know where the money's going. So if you can stay away from a condo, I would. If you are going to buy a condo, it better be in a fucking top 10 location. It's got to be like in a really good location because the homeowners association is dreadful. Anyone that's ever lived in a condo or owned one knows what I mean too. And so they can go up in value. They can be worth it for you. There are some pluses, but if you can get a small house, I'd take that any day, or a townhouse even. But the homeowners association is an issue. But college areas cannot be underrated because there's always going to be value there in renting them. The other option, Johnny, is to buy a small house and rent out a room in your house. That's very popular these days. Thanks, Coach, for coming on tonight. Good night. Good night, Jen. Or doctors, pretty much people who have no lives. If only more people knew, it would be 100+ tribe. Glad it isn't. Yes, Monica is too, I think. Hi, Mac. You are doing a great work. Well, can I ask you a question? Absolutely. Wow, what a name. Is that your real name, or did you just make that up? Cardiaki Barjois. What nationality is that? Thanks for your responses. This was a good session. I'll reach out to David. Thanks, T. He's good people. He's actually we don't talk much these days, not for any reason other than just the distance, but he's a very good person. And so if anyone could help you and be honest with you and treat you right, especially if you mention my name, he'll get a kick out of it. Guys, do you believe in destiny or fate? I don't know about this, but I could ask you guys, including our coach. Destiny or fate in regards to what? I would look up the word confirmation bias and see if that's part of what you're. Look this up. Just do confirmation bias. I'm sorry. Look up that term. There's nothing on Google now that you can play psychologist or whatever you want to do. Confirmation bias, and just make sure that your quote unquote destiny or fate isn't just confirmation bias. Now that being said, if your destiny or fate is something good, and that's the way you look at it, great. If you somehow think your destiny, when I hear people say I'm just destined for bad luck, then I wouldn't believe in that. Your beliefs are a choice. Choose them wisely. HOAs can be okay as long as they're using the money correctly, but that's the thing, is who's running the HOA. Should do a live stream on love being like an addiction and breakup being like withdrawal. Brain chemistry can be similar. Been digging into this with my future project. Okay, well, keep me posted. And if you write something on that, please share, Scott. I value. You're a good writer, dude. I'm not, when you've written me stuff before, so I think you can definitely write a book on this. There's plenty of information out there to shape it too. But if you come up with something and you want to share it, anything you share with me, if I shared it on my show, I'll definitely mention you too. So Scott, I definitely support the idea that start getting some YouTube stuff up with your thoughts and what you want to do, bud. Get it up there. It takes time. Trust me, it takes time. Look at me. People go, "Oh, you got a YouTube channel or something like that." And the one that always gets me, "Oh, you're a YouTuber?" No, I'm not a YouTuber. Whatever that, like, influencer? No. And then having 5,000 subscribers, it's like a peon in the YouTube world, right? But actually to get there, doing it honestly without doing salacious content or anything like that, it takes some time, but it's rewarding. It's rewarding when you build up some content like this. And I think, Scott, you sharing some of your thoughts, or if, like I said, if you want to take the model I do with stories and stuff like that, but just get it started, man. Homeowners associations take money, do little things like mow your lawn and crap like that. They do more than that, because you have common areas that you need money in place for it. They're not all bad. It's just an extra stress that's not fun. Oh, sweet. Did you put him in a YouTube video, Scott? Working on him? Like, did you share your approach? I don't believe in fate. That kind of mindset will keep you in bad situations. Yes, that's my real name. I'm from India. Okay, so what questions did you want to ask? Because I'm at a point now. At an hour and a half is usually, I don't hit the wall, but I start to get a little tired. HOAs can be fine. You too. They can put you lien on your home if you are in areas. They can legally take your home, and much less. They're not all bad, but like, I live in a small community right now where we all own our own house and we share a gate and stuff like that. And it's just, you just got to fucking negotiate with other people. And so it's ideal to have your own house and your own plot of land. Okay. Condos are probably the one that, they definitely can be good, but just keep that in mind. The homeowners association is elephant in the room a lot of times. Hurry up with that Cardi Key Bard Waj. If I said that correct. Thank God for massages, right? That's one of the great parts of Thailand. What made you live in Thailand, if you mind me asking? The beaches. When I researched it, before I came, the movie The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio caught my interest. And I came over here to teach for a year. I was going to teach abroad. I looked at Korea and Japan. I said, I'm going to just do this as a life experience for a year and see how much I like teaching, because it's something I always wanted to do. And then when I did my research, I came across Thailand, and I'm like, no, I want to live there. And it was far less in pay than the other places, but what they talked about in regards to the culture being really friendly and nice and being laid back was absolutely true. And it's fit me like a glove. I love living here and I love the culture. Um, but yeah, the beaches would be probably first. Have you been? I haven't been to Japan. The funny thing is, people ask me a lot, like, have you been here? Have you been here? I haven't been to a lot of other places. I've been to places for like a cup of coffee or a layover or something. I like Thailand so much that I don't find a need to go other places that often. And the funny thing is, all these other places come here to vacation too. Yeah, but it's kind of, I've been teaching at a university for years, and I teach subjects more than just English. So just to be fair, like it's not like ABCs or grammar. It's theme topics such as public speaking, creative writing. Sometimes I'll teach English for business or something like that. But the two main ones right now, and those are for students that are English major, so their English is pretty good. They're saying so. It's not just like you're teaching the English language. My ex broke up with me because I was too needy, that she felt too bound to me, and right now she is neutral towards me. She hasn't texted me since 1 month, and I'm currently not texting her anymore. So what's your question, dude? First wrote response back to individuals and we'll do videos to launch channel. Great, dude. Please share it. Please share it. I support it, and I think it's a great way to show your approach. And it's funny because Scott, there was another guy that he was a past client, younger guy, and I can tell he's trying to do a channel, and he was kind of fishing for information from me, which I don't mind. I don't mind. You know me, Scott. I'm helpful. I'm genuine. But then it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, like if you want to talk to me in a live coaching session, let's talk for like an hour or 2 hours, and then pay me for my time, and then we can talk, and then you don't have to feel guilty about asking me questions and stuff. But I will answer questions and whatnot. But there's a limit to it, right? But this particular guy was like, watch my video, have me on, all this stuff. I'm like, all right, well, look, maybe in the future I'll talk to you. But then I went and watched his video, and his video was about teaching people about this book about tennis, how to play tennis, which is, I've heard of this book, the Tennis Mind, or How to Play Tennis or something. And so he's just going on basically instructing ideas. And this is where I want to get crystal clear, not just for you, Scott, but like when you do public speaking, or when you teach, or when you do anything where you have an audience, you need human stories. People don't want to just be told, hey, this is anxious attachment, and anxious attachments do this, this, and this. And then they use these big words, psychological development of the individual times the incubation patterns. It's just like, what? Right? Someone read some kind of big word journal or something, and then they go and regurgitate it. People like good stories. And so with addiction, even if they're bad stories, if they're stories that catch people's attention, they're going to listen, and they want to know what would you do in that case. It gives way more context than just telling people about a problem and a general way to fix it. Saying that about Japan, everyone tells me it's one of their favorite places that are world travelers. I followed you from almost the beginning. First time I've joined you live chat. There are a few relationship coaches I follow who are honest and authentic, and I've always thought that about you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. MEW. What does that stand for? Especially if you've been with me from the beginning. That's a long journey, huh? A lot of different hairstyles. Do you have office hours and TAs as well at university? We do have office hours. I don't have a TA now. I would love to get a personal assistant right now. That's cool, man. Really noble and exciting life. Is Bangkok the tourist area? Bangkok's just it's a metropolis, bro. It's 10 million people. I mean, it's just a big city like New York City would be. This sounds crazy. I'm from the Bay Area. I've never been to New York City. I've been to Boston. I've been to Philadelphia when I was a little kid, but I've never been to New York City. But Bangkok, it's 10 million people. It's just a metropolis. It's huge. So it's got tourism. Yeah. There's no real beaches there. It's a city, and it's a night city. What I mean by that, like it's hot, it's humid, so everything goes down at night. But there's good food. I mean, it's cool. It's vibrant. It's alive. Do any of your students know about your other job as a coach? Yes, some do. In the beginning, when I first started, I just kept that separate. 1 month is nothing. Do the opposite action of needy while in no contact. People forget. And I only recently started saying that I do that I teach, because then people ask these questions about it. But now we do live streams, okay. Do the opposite action of needy while in no contact. People forget the negative over time. They look for charges. Leslie, Cameroon's finest. How are you? My favorite talk, when I almost missed it. Reminds me of the well-read prisoner from In Living Color. Well, I know In Living Color, which is basically fucking Jim Carrey's best work. I don't know the well-read prisoner. Maybe I'll check that out. But the best Jim Carrey is when he does the Juice Man. Attachment styles are a real thing, but they're not cut and dry. More blends than absolutes. You can also change yours over time. Well, my point was, Judy Jack, people use this. They read it in a book, and then they go on in a video for like 35 minutes about what it is, but there's no real story. And for me, it's just like, okay, at what point are we going to, you got to put it into context of a real story. For me, just tell me, what should I do right now? Currently, I'm not contacting her and giving her space from my side. And I also want to reignite the spark. I know she cares for me, but won't show it. Okay, this is what people do. Oh, just tell me what to do. I don't know your whole story, so I can't really give you that great of advice. My idea of getting someone's attention and being the most attractive you can be would be for you to stick with no contact at this point. The fact that what should I do right now sounds pretty desperate in the way you're writing it. You should be not contacting her because you want to figure out what you want to do with your life as an individual. The idea that you're trying to do this to get her back, I know it's counterintuitive. I say this all the time, but it's not the right way to be. Yeah, I was in Japan for a layover sport a little bit, but was amazed at how clean it is. Korea is actually the nicest airport I've been to. I was actually considering coming up with some new defined attachment styles. I had some in mind. Go ahead and create them. It's my initials. My first name's Mary. Right on, Mary. 100%. I'm on it. You got my donation to support when money come in. You've helped me a ton. I respect, value your time. No, I know you do. That wasn't, just to be clear, Scott, that wasn't directed to you. I was talking about some other individual, because I've just, with you, you're gonna follow through with this, and I actually really believe that you're gonna do some good work. This other individual, sometimes people are just fishing. How should I say it, Scott? I think you'll understand what I mean. It's like they're just fishing for a way to make money. Like I think I could do, if I did this, like he was saying, yeah, I made this book and I'm just going to put this book online about breakups, and the stuff that I wrote about breakups, I've never seen it before. And I was kind of like, okay. You know what I mean? It's like what you're doing, like everything he was shoving my way is about how he's going to make money. And Scott, you're like me. I want to make money. Like, I don't discount that. I charge money, but I do care about the individual people. I think you're the same way. And I do honestly get a lot out of helping people. And so it's not difficult for me to level up to those two things, rather than, oh, let me just come out. Like, why haven't I come out with a book yet? Well, I didn't want to get a ghostwriter. A friend of mine was like, oh, you can get a ghostwriter and you can, and write some book that's not genuine. And, it's just a bunch of shit that you've seen 10 times over. I want something that's extremely useful and going to reflect from the work I've done. And so it's going to take a little bit of time. That being said, it's like we can all come up with like some quick fix book or something like that. And that's why, Scott, what's going to be really great when you do your book is you're going to have personal experience, right? It's not just going to come from a place of like, this is what you do with addiction or something like that. Lagging bad here, Salma. So oftentimes it happens. So we live our lives in chains and we never know, we never even know we have the key. Yes, love will hurt, but I promise it will hurt more if you stay. Older men are more stable, reliable, experienced. I think that's true. I feel like that's too much pop psychology. Things are pretty much cut and dry. Don't need to be fancy. Yeah, like it's just, because I like watching, like for YouTube, people are like, what coaches do you watch? I like watching a lecture like on psychology, like Bruce Lipton or Joe Dispenza. That's neuroscience actually and epigenetics. But other things, I like Joe Rogan because in the future that's what I want to do is have a show like that where I interview people. Maybe not, I'm not going to be Joe Rogan, but I like the way Joe Rogan conducts his interviews, a conversation. It's not just an interview, and that's how I would like to do things in the future. Um, And so when people ask me what I watch, and then you just get these channels where people are, like I said, all these concepts are being remixed. Even, no contact. If I talk about it, it's on many other channels. It's just how I deliver the message and what story I use. Um, but some individuals, you could just feel it, right? Is on when they're trying so hard to look sophisticated or use clever language. Like I think I just said this recently. There's another guy. I thought his teaching style was good. I think his name's Casey Zander, right? And I was like, oh, this guy's teaching like you might have seen him as like attraction, different things like that. But he had a whiteboard and everything. And then in his advertisement, he's got his real girlfriend with him, like hanging all over him. He's like, how do you think I got this girl, man? Hey, hun, tell him how many instant messages you got before you actually took mine, and what was the difference. And she's like this on him, like, oh yeah, like, and she's not even that hot, you know what I mean? Like in my head, I'm like, jeez, man, what a cheap way to advertise yourself. In my head, I'm like, if you're such a masculine guy that gets so many women and you're gonna run an ad like that, number one, uh, I would think she would look better than the one he chose. Number two, you're conveying a little bit of insecurity right there in some ways, right? It's like, oh yeah, how many messages did you get? I wish I could show it right now. I don't have it on hand. Taiwan was not clean, but it was also nice. Lots of young people, night markets. Japan now is mostly old people. I heard that the Philippines currently has a large young population. Yes, it does. I've not been to the Philippines, but it's extremely cheap. The only thing I've heard from some people is they say it's a little bit more dangerous. Just like areas around there and stuff to get robbed, but it's definitely cheap, and it's supposed to be. There's some really nice parts. That's secondhand information. That's not for me. Taiwan, I haven't been to. My ex girlfriend was actually Taiwanese American though. Um, but I've heard good things about the city. I totally understand you, mate. I get it. I feel your perspective. Right on, Scotty. Like you mentioned, there are some blends, and I've read a suggested theory on a fifth, which got me thinking about more about the topic from even more advanced perspective. Okay. It's not pop psych. It often explains behaviors on how people we love based on their parents. What makes someone anxious, avoidant, or secure while stealthy? What's interesting about that, Judy Jack? I just had a client that actually brought up ancient and avoidant. And I said, well, you explain it to me. And it was actually really nice for them to explain it to me. And it made them feel better about it. And then I asked questions about it. And then I asked the question, well, what does it mean to you? And what are you? Rather than just classifying what your partner is, why don't you get in touch with what you are? And then once you mentioned that, we got a little bit deeper on how to fix that part rather than just label your partner a narcissist and avoidant attachment. It would be much more better for you to get in touch with who you are, because that's the person you actually can fix. If you like psychology lectures, I recommend Jordan Peterson. I like Jordan Peterson. I respect him, and I've listened to some of his stuff. Yeah. Okay, you just booked a Mr. Are you there? Kartiki Barjawaj. You just booked a live coaching session. This is my fault because on my channel on my website you can book one before you pay, but it is a paid thing. So when you book a session, it's not free. So please do pay. If you're not planning on paying, please cancel the appointment. Totally understand you, mate. I wonder how Joe Rogan got so good with UFC. You know what's really cool about Joe Rogan? I'm not a big fan of his comedy as far as I don't find him that funny in that regard, but I do have a lot of respect for him being like he's UFC, he's a bow hunter, he's a comedian, and he's got a kick-ass podcast. And he blazes, right? It's like he's a little modern renaissance man in a lot of ways. And it's not necessarily that he's great at any one thing, but the mix of the five makes it really interesting. Um, and it's kind of funny because I've seen tape of him when he was younger, and he's way more obnoxious when he's younger. Which now he's way more laid back. But he's definitely at his best, I think, in for me as a podcast host or interviewer. I've actually, before he was famous, I actually saw him live in San Francisco at a comedy club, and I didn't find him very funny. But he was drinking while he was doing it. It's kind of funny. Joe Rogan on Spotify, huh? Big money. Check out Russell Brand's take on it. Russell Brand is he's an interesting character. He's an interesting character. You know, it's a good interview he did. He interviewed Tony Robbins, and Russell Brand tries to mind fuck people. He's clever and he's very smart. And he tried to do it with Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins took control of the conversation. It was interesting. Uh, Very bad network over here. I don't know what that means. Like hosting and being a part of it. I don't know what that question's in regard. Oh, like hosting. Well, Joe Rogan has a UFC background. He actually is trained to fight and stuff. So he has a little. I don't think he's been a UFC fighter, but if you do a Joe Rogan type podcast, maybe I can be the type that comes on semi regularly and offers thoughts when space needs to be filled. Absolutely, Rob. Mac, you should change it to pay to book. Maybe a separate account. It is my fault, Judy Jack. It is my fault. Someone that's been supposed to change my website has been dragging, and it is my fault. It's just a little frustrating because it seems like people from India tend to book it all the time for free and then they're like, oh, I didn't want to pay. And so, yeah, it is my fault, but he just was on right now and just booked. So that's why I asked the question. And it's funny. I had a client. This was like a couple of years back, and we had a really good connection, and he said I helped him out a lot. And he told me, he goes, this was when I first started, and he was going through it, and I did it for free for him. I said, you can, because he was going through it and stuff. And he ended up giving me a $25 donation. He goes, Coach, you helped me so much. He goes, I'm going to give you my first weeks of pay when I get done with university. He has like 2 more years or 3 more years. And I was like, oh, okay, come on. He goes, no, I'm serious. Because I can't believe you did that. And then he told me, because I think like 3% or 4% of the people that listen to my channel are Indian or from India when it comes in the analytics. And I said, oh man, maybe we can do some kind of thing together, or what you recommend for the Indian population. He goes, yeah, but but people from India will never pay. They will never pay you for a live coach. They just will never pay you for that. And I've had a lot of clients from India that are sending their story and they don't. It's just, he said it's just cultural. They just they won't find any value, and they'll take as much free stuff as they can. That's what, coming from someone that's from India that really liked and appreciated me and gave me $25. And I had another client that gave me $25 donation and told me the same exact thing. That was a young man that was really appreciative. Michael Moore is good at messing with people. I like what he did when he visited Charleston Heston's home. I got to get into listening to people who help you make money. You guys mentioning a lot of people. Like I said, Kung Fu Hustle. I think Glendon might be able to help you a bit. I know he charges for his information sometimes, but I would look into cryptocurrency right now. You're taking more of a chance, but learning that whole game might help you. Know your worth. Fifth attachment style, we call it healing attachment. That's when a couple decides to use the partnership to heal each other, to embody more love and rewire historical and insecure issues. Does that sound legit or semi-legit? So you made this fifth attachment up. We call it healing attachment. And that's when a couple decides to use the partnership to heal each other, to embody more love and rewire their historical insecure issues. Okay. Totally think healing can be transitional style, whether partnered or not. At the end of the day, folks, it's all an opinion when it comes to this kind of stuff. Clinical research and stuff like that, you can base a better opinion on things, sure. It's not math, though. It's not like 2 + 2 is 4, right? It's definitely not that. Any closing questions, folks? Here we go. Nonstop. Sorry. Gary Vaynerchuk's cool. Let me see. Sell tools on eBay. That's one I read where after read the fifth one, I feel there are some more. When's the next stream? Tomorrow. Same time. Opinion, yes. Observation, yes. You can predict things people do based on their style and how theirs. That's for yours. You hate Gary Vaynerchuk? He's from New Jersey. One thing that Gary Vaynerchuk teaches that's true, and I've adopted it in my own approach, is give, and then ask. The it's one of his books. I'm sure he didn't write it, but he's a great orator. But basically, if you're going to do anything online, which is the future of most business, people don't want you to ask them to pay for anything initially. They want free, and then ask, because a lot of things on the internet are free. So that is one thing that he's got a book on. If you're going to do anything online, maybe you want to look at that. That's one of the messages he has. So, oh, Johnny, anything you want to do with making more money in the future or something like that, an online business? Yeah, he was a baseball card collector in his teen years. He's a huge sports fan. Guys like that, though, and he even said in an interview, I don't envy him. I've been around people like this. They're really good salesmen. They're really good with money, but they're never off. They can't relax. They're constantly talking about money. They're constantly on their phones. They can't just have a conversation. I've worked with a couple people in real estate like this that were really successful, but they're never off. You go to a ball game with them or anything like that, and you're just like, geez. Go for it, Azam. Go for it, bro. Like avoidance will always give move on advise regardless, because that's their own lens. You don't. What you need to do, Johnny, is I'm fucking stuttering here. I'm at 2 hours. Um, it's like what I do now, I enjoy it. I like the live stream. I like helping people with breakups. It's not work to me. So find something that you're good at where you help people and they're willing to pay you. I know that sounds kind of simple, or create a product that helps people fix problems. That's the simplest form. And then, create something. Value and attraction. Everything else is icing on the cake. Azam, you could do coaching if you want to do an online thing. If I had a platform for you where I could slide you in, Azam, and put a profile up with who you are, what your name is, you help people with breakups and maybe dating or something like that, would that be something you're interested in? I look at it in the future as something that, let the people make the choice. It's not necessarily someone recommending you. You could probably do the advice you give, and you staying on these live streams as long as you do, and it seems like you're pretty well read. You could do it. You could. It might be funny to some people because they're like, "Oh, why would you suggest another person to do what you do?" I don't. I don't find it to be a threat, because everyone in the world, it's the biggest market. I could have a tenth of a percent of the market of breakups and still do pretty well. So, and if Zom in a year or two was like, "Oh man, I got this many more people on my life," I would be like, "Go for you, man." I would be happy for you. I wouldn't look at it as competition or something like that. I wouldn't. I would say if your style and who you are and how you ride and what you say resonates with some other individuals that were more like-minded with you than me, and you have good intentions, would be the number one thing. You know what I mean? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I think one thing that shines through for me is I do have good intentions. Even when that girl already today that sent her story in, and I got a little upset, I had good intentions, right? Like, I I think that some of these people out there, you can smell them, right, Azam? It's like you got kind of a tough character, a tough outlook. You give information a certain way, but I think at the end of the day, you're still not just trying to, like, if you ended up doing what I do, you still aren't coming from a place where you're trying to mislead someone or generalize or just trying to get money. I think you do need to lead with the idea that I'm doing this because I want to help people, and I believe I'm good at it, and I could get better at it, maybe with the continued reading. Because what makes you better at something, anything, myself included, like live streams, the videos. If you watch my first videos, you're like, "Oh, you're a little off," or like, it's just practice. And it's the same thing with talking to people regularly. And the funny thing is, before you start doing something like this, like YouTube, and you see other people do it, and you're like, "Oh, that's easy, I could do it." Yeah, it's not like it's not like just riding a bike. Okay, you're not going to be like, just, it's so easy. And so you got to jump in and do it. Relationships are not all that simple. Always updating, lots of negotiation and renegotiation. Sure, always will be in demand. As long as you are truly being honest with the person, that they will appreciate it. Even if it is tough, it's uncomfortable at the beginning, I'm sure. Well, yeah, too, if if that's your style, right, then people appreciate it about you. And people, the funny thing about it is, if you do it long enough on YouTube, like if you chose to go and do something like mine, maybe model my show, which I wouldn't care, like basically make stories. The Azam's going to read breakup stories and give his take, and then that's where you're going to start from. That's fine. And then you have a little bit more uh of an outlook that's stronger or whatnot. Maybe the beautiful thing is, someone could hire me and they could hire Azam for the same problem and just get two different perspectives. And I have plenty of people that go, "Oh, I talked to another coach. I'm sorry to tell you." And I'm like, I don't mind. It's not competition to me. I'm like, "How did it go?" And I'll tell you the truth. Most of them say, "I like talking to you better." I've had multiple people tell me, yeah, a lot of times they just tell me the same stuff I see on the other videos, but you actually seem like you're genuinely listening to me and stuff like that. That's my approach. I'm talking to you in a conversation, And so, um, people, the amount of people, like I said, the amount of people that talk to other people. And then someone might say, oh, wait, man, I like Islam because he's fucking honest and he's tough. And someone might talk to me and they say, well, Mac's genuine and down to earth. Who's better? It's up to the individual, right? I mean, yeah, selling stuff people have a need for online. There shouldn't be negotiations as much of a genuine desire to be together there. Negotiations are for business meetings, not for love. You're right, Scott W. I've gotten 110% better at listening. I've always been a good talker. I've always been a good conversationalist. I've always been able to engage in a conversation by listening, all-time high. And actually, it's transferred over to my own personal life. When friends, family members, colleagues, I fucking listen. I listen for key words, and it is it's a difference maker in communication. People should make a video on the info that they wish they had before they had a loss. Oh, the amount of people that, it's a big one, Judy Jack, that's funny, is when I do a live coaching session, I'll suggest some books afterwards. And not everyone reads the books because not everyone likes books, so they just don't have the time or whatever. And the amount of people that will read the book, it's like getting a prescription instead of going to the doctor. I'm like, read these books; they'll suit you. I haven't read 1,000, 10,000 books in my life, but I've read a good amount of books, so I know the ones that would suit you in their situation. And a lot of times they're the same books, like No More Mr. Nice Guy or Rational Male. There's a lot of guys I'm like, you should just read these. Oh yeah, well yeah, I'll get to them, or I don't like that kind of stuff. I'm like, just read. And they email me back and they're like, holy shit, this book was made for me. And I'm like, yeah, well, I talked to you for 2 hours or an hour and a half. I thought it was pretty fucking good fit for you, or I want to suggested it. I mean, that's value. When someone's able to suggest a book that actually really suits you and is going to help you, there's a lot of value there than just looking through fucking Amazon for 10 hours, right? All right, I hit the 2-hour mark, 12 people on deck, 8 likes. Thanks for the likes. I really appreciate it. It's supposed to do something with the algorithm. What? I don't know. But it's good. It's somehow good for it, right? People keep telling me, oh, ask for your likes. Judy Jack, go for it. Add some book reviews. I think book reviews are always helpful to other individuals. But this is going to be me calling it curtains. It's 1:37 p.m. in the afternoon for me right now. And this is where that point where I just start to, it's actually a lot of energy to talk to. Silly Cliff, what's up? How you doing, buddy? I guess you've been on the whole time. I like the name. And okay, got that in. 2 hours. Best poach I've run into, seriously. Well, I'll take that as a compliment, Salma, especially you're from Morocco. I'm glad I'm touching different parts of the world. That's really cool, actually. That's a privilege. And I did eat earlier today. Good night, bro. Looking forward to the email recap. Right on. I got you, Johnny. Thanks, Judy Jack. Thanks for Karen, hon. I appreciate it. Salma, stay up. And I hope this take from the live stream and myself was useful and helpful to you. And you're a good person. Appreciate yourself and actually tell yourself, I'm doing the best I can right now. And I forgive myself for whatever I've done in this relationship. And I forgive him. And I'm just going to move forward. Okay. So all the best. It's curtains.